Hey there. Welcome back to Creepy Encounters. In today's video, unknown person in the car watched the younger me jog up my driveway in a town where everybody knows everybody. Meaner than a junkyard dog. Not these creeps. Man in black van almost kidnapped me when I was 11. I female was 15 to 16 when this happened. My family lived in the middle of nowhere, in a system of dirt roads and farms a few miles out of a town of 200 people. Everybody that lived where I did went to school in the town. My family had been doing taxes for the people of the town for generations, so my family knew everybody, and everybody knew my parents, and everybody knew me in some way, whether I knew them or not. It was summer, and my mom was in town working, leaving me home alone. I had gotten into the habit of going on jogs with my blind dog while she was out, generally wearing a sports bra and running shorts. I wouldn't say I was attractive, but living where I did, I almost never saw anybody else. When I did, it was always a neighbor, and they would pull over and ask how my mom or grandma was. Friendly stuff every time. This time, my dog and I were making our way back home, with my driveway in my sights, maybe a minute away at the most. My dog kept veering to the left, where there was a ditch, and ignoring my directions. I turned to grab his collar so he wouldn't fall, and that was when I realized that there was some kind of SHT sports car that clearly shouldn't have been driving on those dirt roads barreling toward me, way faster than somebody should drive on those roads. I wasn't about to attempt to get my dog to cross the road, to the side where my driveway was, still a short ways away, so I crouched down and put my arms around my dog so he wouldn't run away, and waited for the driver to pass. They kicked up enough dust that I couldn't see anything when they finally did drive past. My dog was eager to go home, and so was I. I let go of him and stood up, and the driver was idling just past my driveway. We ran instead of jogged, and I took in the details: dark blue, tinted windows, no license plate. I have pretty SHT eyes, and I couldn't make out what kind of car it was, but I did know that I had never seen it before, and it didn't belong there. I turned onto my driveway, about a block and a half long, and you can't see my house from the end of it, and stopped to encourage my dog to come off the road. When I stopped, the car began to reverse, very slowly, and stopped right in front of my driveway. I took out my earbuds and looked, waiting for somebody to roll down the window and ask for direction. Clearly, I thought, these people are lost. But they didn't do anything at all, though I couldn't see a damn thing through those windows. I turned around and jogged home, willing myself not to look back until about halfway up my driveway, a safe distance. I stopped and turned to see that they were still there, parked, not moving at all. We stared at each other for a while, at least, I stared at them. They still didn't move. Covered in sweat and their dust, I decided to go home, so I turned and walked the rest of the way. And that was that. I later asked my family and some friends that lived in town if they had ever seen a car like that, and then the owner of the gas station in town. Everybody said that they hadn't, and I never saw the car again. I stopped jogging off of my land after that. When I was young, I worked at a fast food place that was next door to an auto salvage/repair place. This business kept two very unpleasant Dobermans as guard dogs. Every night they were let out to roam the property and eat anybody who tried to steal from them. I was on the closing shift. Most nights after closing there would be some leftover food. Since I usually had to wait for my dad to give me a ride home, I started bringing the dogs some treats. They went from rushing the fence to tear my throat out. Absolutely thrilled to see me. There was a space in the chain link fence that was kinda dug out, and I could pass whatever I brought them under it. They would even stick their big old heads down so they could get ear scratchies. I named them Zeus and Apollo. After the dogs on the TV show Magnum P.I. I even found a clip that held the chain link to a post. And I could pull back the chain link to get easier access to the ears. I would strip the meat from leftover chicken, so my boys didn't choke on bones. Once in a while, I would accidentally make a couple extra burgers by accident. Right before close. For my buddies. It was summertime. The nights were warm and I really enjoyed my evening visits with the boys. They really loved seeing me. I would sit by the fence. Give them treats and scratches. They would literally wiggle with delight when I showed up. Until one fateful night. I had just walked out with my bag of treats. My co-workers, 4 women on this night, would usually hang out until Dad showed up. It was only a few minutes. But they didn't want to just leave me all alone so late at night. When I got to the fence, I started slipping my boys some chicken meat and hamburger. When a pickup truck rips into the parking lot. There's 2 guys in the cab. 3 in the bed. They're drinking, throwing beer cans, and doing donuts in our parking lot. Until they spot us. Off to the side of the lot. by the fence. They drive over and start making crude comments to the women, asking them to come party with them. Things like that. Then they see me, just sitting by the fence, holding my bag. The dogs went crazy. They had been standing there watching all this. But when the guy started climbing out of the truck, they must have sensed his intentions. The second I unclipped the fence, both dogs muscled their way under and were all over that truck. Zeus went for the bed. Apollo launched himself right into the cab. Pandemonium. Apollo didn't get all the way in, and the passenger was able to roll up his window. After a couple nips, Zeus had the guy who was climbing out of the bed by his pants leg. His buddies were trying to pull him back into the truck. Apollo denied access to the cab, joined Zeus, and a tug-o-war ensued. Two idiots pulling their buddy, while two Dobermans tried pulling him back out. Everyone in the truck is screaming. The dude's pants legs rip and he crashes back into the truck bed. The dogs are all over that truck. The guys in the back are screaming, drive, drive, drive. And after a few seconds the driver finally figures out they should leave. My boys came right back to me. I wasn't actually sure I wasn't going to get eaten, but they just strolled right back to me and sat down. Right in front of me. Like, what's next? I swear. They were smiling. I put the food under the fence and pulled back the chain link. They scrambled back underneath and got their rewards. After that night, they got rewards from not only me, but the women who were with me that night. They got treats every night. Not just the nights I worked. The story was legendary. And almost all my coworkers began making a couple extra burgers by mistake late at night. I ended up moving a couple months later. But as far as I know, Apollo and Zeus got special treats for the rest of their days. You earned it, my mean furry friends. I was about to go home and it was still clear, since we're hours away from 6 p.m. I intended to go home this early, and it's not because our house is far. I just don't want to walk home once it gets dark. Besides, there's this narrow and dark path. It was narrow because it's between two buildings facing away from each other, that I had to take until I reached our house. When it gets dark, I won't be able to see things. This wasn't the first time I went to a classmate's house without a guardian with me, so I didn't really expect weird things to take place. This time, I saw a man in a black van driving towards me. I knew it was a man because I can see him clearly on the car's windshield. At first, it wasn't alarming to me because I thought he was only going to ask for directions. But he didn't. I was a bit relieved when he drove past me. Until I saw him, literally by my side. He's mimicking my walking pace so he could keep up with me. I got spooked real quick, and as an 11-year-old girl, what would you do? I quickened my pace and I stopped by another classmate's house. I didn't tell her everything, I just went on and asked about homeworks just so it won't get suspicious on why I visited her without an early notice. I think I spent hours in her house. It was already a bit dark, that time, until her mother got home from work. I remember her asking me if that was my father outside. She said my father's probably waiting for me for hours in his black van. My whole body literally went cold when she said that. I never wanted to tell anyone, but the feeling of terror prompted me to break down. I told her the reason why I stopped by here and that I was about to go home earlier that day. She called the police right away, but the man nor the van was no longer there. I didn't have a phone that time. That was 7 years ago, and our financial status was declining, so we had to prioritize food, and I don't have my mother's phone number with me. My classmate's mother escorted me to our house and she told my parents everything. I never got out of the house without a guardian again, and it really took a toll on me until now. What's bugging me is that I'm unsure if he was the only one in the car or not. Had I continued my walk to my house, I wouldn't have made it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe for more real-life creepy encounters around the world. See you in the next video. Bye.